So there's a request on what's coordinate translation, how to do it. I've got an example that shows you how to georeference a HEC-RAS model to a project site. And maybe I should show you how that works right away. That's probably a good segue into that. I wanted to show you how to do a dam break model, also a bridge scour analysis too, though. But let's say my CAD drawing is not georeferenced, right? How could I get it in the right spot? I can go to my HEC-RAS layer, and over here there's one called transformation, and you can then go and apply it doesn't do any rotation, but you can apply a shift. Or if you have a grid to ground scale factor, you can apply that scale factor in there. So if they're in a sort of local coordinate system, you can kind of get it in the right spot. You can also, each layer can have its own unique coordinate system, meaning that they don't have to be in the same projection. So in AutoCAD, every data that you bring in has to be in the same projection. But in GIS, it doesn't work that way. In GIS, each one could be in its own projection. So this software works off the GIS way, so each layer can have its own projection. So you can see right now it's using the same project coordinate system, but if you want to go and map a different one in, you could go over to, let's say, North America. We're going to choose the United States, and then you could drill down into, this is in Ohio. So we could come into Ohio, and I could choose a different coordinate system, right? I could choose the datum and stuff like that. So, and then in that case, you'd hit assign. Did that help answer a little bit there?
I guess under the transformation tab.
Yeah. We'll go back in there.
Local would be, which one would be the state plane and which one would be the...
Yeah, so this is my target. That's my local reference point. And this is where it says source. You can pick a point on your CAD drawing, then you can pick a point on your map, and then it'll snap them to the same spot. Okay. But I may have it backwards, I don't remember, but it does work.
Okay.
Unless you broke it, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. But let's say we have a model. In fact, let me start up the Army Corps HEC-RAS software. And I think I've got a model one of you guys have worked on before. Let's see if I've got it here. We're going to go over to my work folder under consulting, under training examples. We're going to bring in this one called HEC-RAS import. Go to HEC-RAS data and grab that file. Go take a look at it there. Has anybody seen these models before? Yeah, all the time, right? So if you don't have earlier versions of HEC-RAS, that's all you can do. You can just draw stick figures, right? Now the newer version, you can actually bring in a coordinate system and kind of bring things in, but still you kind of crude. But this is an actual engineering project, right? And if I measure that project, if I hold down the control key on my keyboard, that's how you measure in AutoCAD. You can see that whole river is 1 foot long. Not quite, it's a little short of a foot. Okay, so you can see the coordinates are all messed up. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that in and georeference it. So we're going to go over to, now one thing I forgot to show you, and I think some people tried this, is if we go over to our watershed menu, you can say FEMA flood data, and I can choose FEMA flood data, hit OK to that, and it'll bring in my FEMA map. One of the things it'll bring in is the river center line. So these are in separate layers, so if you want to go and bring it down, you just say FEMA National Flood Hazard Layer download, and their map service goes on and off. You have to try a couple times. But then you can save this as GIS data. Now it'll be kind of slow. But if I go back in my folder where my project was, what was that under work, consulting, training examples, HEC-RAS import, and I'm going to call it FEMA download. I can spell here. And select that folder. And I want to choose the HEC-RAS model extents. Hit OK. It'll start to download that stuff on my computer shapefiles. And so now, if I go and expand this out, I can see all the shapefiles I got pulled down. All right, and so if I wanted to go and utilize that in my model, I could. These are all shapefiles. I could bring up, just as an example, come in here, say add layers. There's all the FEMA data we just grabbed. Pull that in, and you'll see all that attribute data coming back in here. And you can see we can go and query on this. We can go to Data Explorer and select that. That's a cross section in there. It's on a layer cross section. You can click on that. That's a base flood elevation contour. Limits there, so they kind of group together there, but they have different attributes in there. So when we bring them in on this side, you might want to go and map that. For example, if you're doing a FEMA study, you have to create what they call a duplicate effective model. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but basically you're taking you might have an old HEC-2 data set, and you're trying to replicate that in HEC-RAS. You're creating what they call a duplicate effective model, basically trying to match the encroachment stations and everything in there. So let's assume we've imported a HEC-2 model or HEC-RAS model. We want to map where FEMA says the floodway is. So what we can do is we can go over to our analysis menu, choose under floodplain encroachments, choose assign floodway stations, choose a 100-year profile, and just hit assign. And those are now assigned to our model. You can see the little points there. But more importantly, if we check our HEC-RAS data set now, we can see our method 1 is set up with our left and right encroachment stations. So that's automating that process for you. So something like that might take you an afternoon, whereas here it's a couple mouse clicks and you're off and running. But again, their map server is being rebuilt, and I don't understand. It's been down for 3 months now. I would expect by now it'd be done, but they're still working on it. But let's go back to our other project that we had, which is that straight line model. So we're going to go and simply open that up. Different ways we can open that file up. One way is go to Input, Import Data, say Import HEC-RAS Project. That's one way. The advantage is there I can specify which plan I want to open up. That's one way. Another way is I could go into my project folder, which is over here under Consulting, under Training Examples, HEC-RAS Import, go to HEC-RAS Data, and then grab the project file and just drag and drop it in here. Now for some people, somehow this thing got locked. I don't know why. It didn't get locked, but they kept saying it said dropped here. And I've never seen that before, but if I drop there, it should import that model. We'll see that coming up. That's one way. Another way, let me just remove it. If you want to delete a HEC-RAS model out of there, just right click and say remove, and it completely removes your HEC-RAS model. The layer's still there, it's just empty now. But the last method, you just simply go file open, right? You don't even have to tell it. We're just going to go and read the data. So we're going to go in there and grab that, just like any other file, open it up, and it pulls in. Now it's going to say, hey, wait a minute, it's not possible this model's 1 foot long. So if I go over to my Data Explorer, click on that river reach now, you see it's about 29,000 feet long. But spatially, it doesn't know where it is. It says it's in a local coordinate system. If I go drill into that, it says it's a world. It doesn't know specifically where it is. If we go to our HEC-RAS Properties dialog box, under Spatial Reference, you see it's a local coordinate system. So in this case, we downloaded the FEMA centerline, so we're going to add that in. We'll say Add Layers. Go into that folder for that data, grab that centerline. We'll see that popping up on our screen. And let's add a base map so we can see where it's located. Go through in the Google map, maybe, for example. And there it is. And you can see now we've got a coordinate system. If we click on it, it shows you a little picture of where the coordinate system is. All right, so we can go back there. So this is where our project should be. So to bring that and in fact, we want to go and look at this bridge right down here, Highway 95. So to bring that model into that coordinate system, we're going to grab that HEC-RAS layer and just drag and drop it in nearby. It will then associate itself to that coordinate system. So if we go back to our properties, under here, you can see it's now in the same coordinate system. But it's not following along the river yet, right? It's just kind of running parallel to it. That's not going to work for us. So we have to have that follow along this alignment. So we're going to right-click on this river reach. We choose Georeference River Reach. And in this dialog box, we're going to tell it to snap to an alignment center line. You can click on a pick button, click on that river reach where we want it to go. It's going to trace out where it's going to go. Click on Snap. It's going to snap your HEC-RAS model onto that alignment. Now we're not quite out of the woods yet. We're going to zoom in on that. Zoom into this bridge opening here. And I got close. I'm about 400 feet, 500 feet away from where it is, right? Close doesn't count for FEMA, so we got to go and get that lined up. So we're going to right-click on this again, choose Georeference River Reach, choose Slide Along Alignment Center Line. Click on the Slide button. You see little dots here representing where the river is. Just grab, and the little dots are representing the structures and the cross sections. Just grab that line and it'll follow you like a train on a train track, but basically you can line up the dots at this point, right? So we can come in here, zoom in and get that green dot directly centered over our bridge. Right click, say done. It's going to shift everything down for us. Not quite finished yet. We're going to bring in our FEMA mapping for this. Go over to our watershed menu, choose FEMA flood data, select OK. The FEMA map will come in. Now we can see in here these BFEs, base flood elevation contours. So that's telling me that our cross section should be aligned parallel to those. And you can see it's not doing that. It's perpendicular to the reach. So I'm going to right click on this, say graphic edit. It puts a bounding box on that. I think I showed you this morning. We can just grab that and rotate that, get him lined up. Do the same thing here, grab him, rotate him, get him lined up parallel. Now what do you do in this case? We've got a section that's got a little bend in it. So we're going to right click on that, say georeference cross section. And we just say draw and map view, click on the draw button. And we can just kind of eyeball it. We want to draw one parallel to that line but intersect over here. So kind of figure this out, something like that. If you're not exact, if you want to back up, just hit the backspace key. You can try it again. That's it, looking better. Go off in that direction. You don't have to draw the whole thing in, just enough. And so there you go. So in a matter of a couple of minutes, you can bring in a model and georeference it in.